お前ら
かかってこい。
何行くぞ。さあこれで文句はないな。
As soon as Ryuga Gotoku Ishin was announced and that it was going to be set in 1800s Japan, I knew that it wasn't going to get localized. That didn't stop me though. I bought the game when I was in Japan, and last month I finally got around to playing it. Like with Kenzan, they didn't care about having an intro song fitting the time period, as the game opens this time with a ballad in English. The game stars Ryoma Sakamoto, of course having Kazuma Kiryu's likeness. Like Miyamoto Musashi in Kenzan, Ryoma Sakamoto is a Japanese historical figure, but much more recent. The story starts out kind of similar to Kenzan, with someone getting killed, his best friend almost dies, one of them falls in a river, someone assumes his name, and he ends up fighting his own mentor/friend. But later on it expands quite a bit and overall is quite different. Ryoma comes to Kyoto and joins the Shinsengumi, a kind of police force according to Wikipedia at least, although they act more like a gang to me. They're sort of the Tojo clan of this game, and sort of in that vein, the cool thing about Ishin is that most characters have their likenesses taken from various Yakuza characters, which led me not to bother with learning their names in this game, instead just using their names from the regular series. We have Mine, Hamazaki, Saejima, Kashiwagi, Hayashi, Akiyama, Goda, Kage, Katsuragi, Date, Majima, Nishiki, and several from Yakuza 5 that I don't know the names of yet. At the very end there's one more that really surprised me, but it's definitely too good to spoil. Having this big ensemble of franchise characters made me care a bit more about the characters in this game than I did in Kenzan, but on the other hand, with this many, they didn't have time to focus that much on many of them. I did enjoy seeing all these familiar faces, but I have to admit the characters in Kenzan were a lot more fleshed out, and because there were so many, they can't all survive, which I actually found entertaining to see who would bite the dust next. A clear disappointment though was to see Haruka entirely relegated to the entirely optional Another Drama. It's probably because I don't understand Japanese, but the story is tricky to surmise. Basically it's about Japanese politics. There are several groups with different agendas. Akiyama and Goda both run their own groups in opposition to each other, and there are hidden agendas within the Shinsengumi too. And by the end the shogunate, the emperor, and even foreigners get involved. I can't really say any more, but there's your standard amount of intrigues and flashbacks that characterize a Yakuza game. The game also seems to be very patriotic of Japan, building up Sakamoto Ryoma as kind of a founding father of modern Japan. It's nice to be reminded sometimes that the United States of America did not invent patriotism. The gameplay of Ishin is like Kenzan with a focus on swordplay, but expanded. You have 4 different styles of combat, and you level them up individually. You have your unarmed style, which is still not as good as the regular games, but not as limited as Kenzan was. You have your standard single sword style, but then there's the pistol, and the gun and pistol styles. You can't block while using either of them, but I guess the idea is to overwhelm the enemies and dodge a lot. While I like both of these, they don't do a lot of damage, so I tended to fall back on the single sword style most often. Oh, and there's also extra weapons, like the really long sword that he uses like a sledgehammer, and a cannon. It's not quite as powerful as you'd think, but it's cool nonetheless. I like the combat a lot in this game, even though it's still not quite as good as the regular series. I suppose I just prefer hand-to-hand with the occasional weapon over sword fighting. The game starts in a town on Kyushu called Tosa, but the main brunt of the game takes place in Kyoto. Kyoto in this game feels quite big, and it includes Gion from Kenzan as well, although it's much smaller here. There are more restaurants than ever, and amazingly Don Quixote is in this. It even has an instrumental version of the theme song playing inside the store. Very nice touch. And of course it wouldn't be a Yakuza game without minigames and plenty of sub-stories. There's shogi and the like, fan waving, slicing cannonballs with a sword that sort of takes the place of the batting center, and even karaoke makes an appearance. You don't have microphones and so on, obviously. Instead you just sing at a bar. Despite the language barrier, I did over 40 sub-stories, but I didn't come across any really weird ones. Honestly, the part in the main story where Kiryu and Gota fight each other naked in a bathhouse was the weirdest. Seriously homoerotic. The worst part of the game was due to a problem that has been with the series since the beginning. The fact that you can't pause whenever you want within a battle. When you've just been knocked down and desperately need to heal, you have to press the start button up to like 10 times before it actually goes to the pause menu. It has always been annoying, but here it actually got me killed 4 times, because the bosses love to slash at me while I'm down. Despite that, I had a lot of fun with Ishin, and due to my slightly better Japanese skills this time around, I understood more of what was going on before going to KHH Sub's site, where he's made a great written guide that I recommend wholeheartedly. And I recommend this game overall. All the roles and cameos by the cast from the main series made me more invested than I was with Kenzan. The gameplay is fast and fun, and the different styles give you a lot of options, which is always a good thing. Even though the PlayStation 4 still needs games, I don't think this game is high on Sega's list of Japanese games to localize. Probably because it is too Japanese, or whatever reasoning they use. Well, I enjoyed it a lot, and I think you will too.
これで役者が揃った。
ええ。
話は聞いただろうな、龍馬。わしたちはこれから土佐藩の老人たちに引導を渡し、土佐藩を改革する。そういった無意味な階級のない土佐藩へと変えるために。
親さん、金王党はもう高知城包囲の準備はできてます。いつ決行しますか？
わしは気が短いんでな。明日だ。そこで全て型をつける。
随分急だな。